Races. Oh, Adele had this team on SNES. Yay, Adele. Brazil. Okay, so this was his SNES. And he said that they played a lot of pirated games, which I got fascinated by. Because it's like, well, how? And he said the pirated games were more of a thing, common, than getting actual official games. So, from that, I'm like, I want to know about the piracy story over there. If you can find a good doco there, find one for me. And he's found one. So that's what we're going to watch and see. Mind you, this was a legit... so this is a legit Nintendo console case. Yeah, you guys got a little bit robbed. You got the 5-year out in the sun purple. Not good. Not good. Not good. It's being promoted with one of the worst games, or most, not worst, but not a great game to promo the system. Uni Races. Yeah, I hired it. I actually hired that one from the video store. Bad game. Very bad game. Don't know if we're going to stream it. Everybody said we should stream it. I don't want to do that. We may as well, because everybody said they want to see it. They want to see Uni Races. They want to see Hello Kitty. All right. Okay. So let's go. We're gonna have a look at this and let's see how this goes. By the way, no pressure, Adele. This better be good. Otherwise, it's 24 minutes of waste of time, wasting the show, wasting the stream, wasting the VOD. I'm sure it'll be good.
If you think video game piracy started with PlayStation 2 games being sold at street vendors, you haven't heard the whole story. Decades earlier, Brazil was already finding ways to circumvent the law with counterfeit arcade machines, redesigned cabinets, and cloned consoles, piece by piece, right here in the country. For years, the video game market here lived on the fringes of legality.
Out of sync! Already! Alright, okay, not a big deal. We'll deal with it, but maybe let's see if we just need to reload him. Because that seems way out of sync.
If you think video game piracy started with PlayStation 2 games being sold at street vendors, you haven't heard the whole story. Decades earlier, Brazil was already finding ways to circumvent the law with counterfeit arcade machines, redesigned cabinets, and cloned consoles.
So, wait, he's speaking in, I see. Right, so we've got the settings on English. Because it's done in Spanish?
Piece by piece, right
speaking
here in
Portuguese.
the country.
Okay. All right, well,
for years, the video game market here lived on the fringes of legality. While companies abroad competed for space, in Brazil the challenge was different. Surviving legislation that blocked any technological advancement from outside.
This will be fun.
And it was in this scenario that piracy ceased to be just a crime and became a solution. The most curious thing is that without this Brazilian way of doing things, perhaps most people here would never have played Super Mario, Pokemon, or a GTA game.
Interesting. So without the piracy, you guys would have missed... Okay, why though? Is it because of the price? Or I should probably listen to this.
What was once informality ended up shaping the behavior of an entire generation. But how do you explain to the world that in Brazil, piracy helped build one of the largest video game markets on the planet? This story begins in the 1970s with the arrival of Taito do Brazil.
Okay, so yeah, the PS2 was launched officially here in like 2009, but everyone had one like for years. Dude, why would... Okay, God, so it took a long time.
A company that basically brought pinball and arcade machines from Japan and the United States and distributed them to various arcades across the country.
Bizarre.
However, this scenario became more complicated in 1976 when a resolution from CAPR, an agency that regulated the trade of electronic products in Brazil, was published. This resolution aimed to create a market reserve for this type of product in the country, under the guise of developing local technology. In practice, however, this made it difficult for the company to import the machines. So, how did Taito deal with this to survive in Brazil? To circumvent this situation, Taito quickly resorted to the Brazilian way of doing things. The company opened a factory in Sao Paulo and began manufacturing, in quotes, 1,000 machines here in Brazil. In reality, what they did was take arcade boards, modify their hardware to make them look like a national product. This was mainly done on the Moncresta arcade machine, as it had a more complete and versatile circuit board at the time. But the truth is that these machines were just modified versions of games that were already successful abroad. And the craziest thing was that this generated a series of bizarre things, since they also changed the names of the machines to make another product appear. So, classics like Donkey Kong became So Kong, Galaga became Fantastic, Xivius became Columbia, and Frogger, that little frog game, became Jump. And it wasn't just arcade machines that suffered from these modifications.
You got to appreciate, the basic names that they just sort of go, oh, okay, there's a Frogger, Jump, that they go with. I love it when there's piracy and it's not just blatant, it's lazy. Renamed it, but not even to like a creative name. It's just like, okay, oh, what's the most basic, boring? It's about a guy that's a duck hunt. It's a ducky. Duck hunt is not called duck hunt. We'll call it ducky. Okay.
Pinball machines also got their Brazilian versions.
Portuguese
like
in Brazil
Oba Oba,
slam, not
which was
Spanish.
The Playboy
Think,
machine
idiot,
version.
think. Okay. Listen, I am not geographically educated, and now I know. Oh, sorry, then that's the right way, Thomas. And I'm not ashamed about that, dude. I live in Australia and don't know much about the outside, and I don't care to. You know why? Because it's not outside my front door. Don't care that I'm not educated. Doesn't fucking bother me, Mr. Brain. You, on the other hand, need to be not looked at as being an idiot. You need to be the smartest in the room and know everything about everything. Which is why I have you as my best friend, so you can educate me in moments like this. I don't know what speaks in what where and what language, what where. I just said Spanish. Wait until you see how we had a unique deal with Nintendo. I'm already this is already great, man. This is like already
The Black Knight from the
incredibly
original
informative.
Black Knight, which even got Portuguese voices. And all the cabinet artwork was also adapted with illustrations and texts completely redone here in Brazil. All this served to circumvent the regulations of the time and, in a way, even constituted a kind of piracy. They would take a foreign product, modify it locally, and launch it as a national product, and most of the time it didn't even have the image rights, okay?
Jeez.
But this strategy worked so well that the machines ended up marking a golden age of arcades here in Brazil.
God, so they got away with it
Eventually, Taito ceased its operations in Brazil in 1985, mainly due to the death of the founder of the Japanese Taito company, Michael Kogan. Furthermore, the restrictive laws on the electronics market were becoming even more severe with the 1984 Federal Market Reserve Law. However, at that time the video game market was undergoing a new movement in Brazil, moving out of arcades and into the homes of the players themselves, which gave rise to a new chapter of piracy in Brazil.
Sorry, I love seeing little clips of kids like when we were young holding the Zapper gun. It creates such a nostalgia feeling. Too bad it's the NES, and the NES was one of the worst systems of all time in terms of how it operated, right? Because the SNES, far superior. And I'm sorry, but just quickly, our poor dearest Pam never had a SNES. Our bow-legged bestest Pamley never got to experience having a SNES. So pray for him. Because one day, he's going to make it. No, he is. I believe in you, Pam. We all do. Sorry, let's get back to it. I don't mean to be distracting.
But if there's one thing you absolutely can't pirate, it's insider t-shirts. Because here, my friend, it's not just a t-shirt, it's real technology, something you won't find in the street vendors in your city. The difference with these pieces is that they solve everyday problems that we only notice when they start to really...
Thank you for saying that, man. Let's just quickly, hang on, sorry. One day, God, I love this image. One day, look at it, a simultaneous prayer family. One day, he will have the SNES Slim. And therefore, he's made it. We must have an image of Pam holding a SNES. And I've got to put it on the stream as well. I'm thinking whether or not I be respectful and play the ad for this, but I don't think people are going to kill us. So let's skip any ads. Fuck
But if
ads.
you've never tried it and are seeing me talk about it now, go for it without fear. Give it a chance, group, so you can receive Japan and Europe, with several consoles emerging became the new standard in the United States, Japan, and Europe, with several consoles emerging even after the 1983 crash. But in Brazil, where the market reserve law restricted the import of electronics, how would the public keep up with this revolution? The gamble once again came from the famous Brazilian ingenuity. Between 1983 and 1984, while the Atari 2600 dominated the American market, national companies like CCE, Dinacon, and Nilmar saw the opportunity to bring the device here. But without relying on imports,
Can't stop looking at this guy's forehead.
they bought an
Like, this video, it's just
Atari
warped his head
2600,
so much. Right?
reverse engineered the hardware, and started producing their own.
Oh, that was Pam's one? Oh, you had this one? Pam had this nonsense? Wait. While we had... Okay. Hang on. Let's play it. It deserves this music. We've got to because Pam... That's why Pam didn't have a SNES. He had the Atari 2600, right? That's what he had to live with. Didn't have a SNES. He had that one. Poor Pam. Okay, hang on. Let's just go into this. Hang on. All right, okay, we'll stop this for a sec. So let me just show you. Okay. This is how we all experienced double...
They bought an Atari 2600.
Hang on. Stop it. Okay. We're there. So we all experienced Double Dragon. Right? This is how we all experienced Double Dragon, mostly. Most of us, right? Okay? On the NES. Right? Okay. Oh! Fuck yeah, man. This is how we all experienced it. It was so cool seeing that. Back when we were young. And then this music, right? Badass fucking music, right? Right? Cool music, cool everything. Looks cool. Good color palette, everything, right? Okay, while we had the privilege of playing this, right? And I don't know if Adele was stuck playing this one. This is what Pam had to play. This was his Double Dragon. This is what Pam was playing. Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! While we were playing this one, fucking this one, man. Right? We were playing this one. Poor old Pam. Hang on. Yeah, the SNES did, but he never had the SNES, right? But this is what Pam. So Pam got to play this one while we're all, playing the other one at home. Pam had this one, okay? Just so everybody knows. Oh boy. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, let's keep going.
And started producing their own versions, officially creating the era of clone consoles. Models like the 1983 DYA Vision, Super Game
so interesting, this clone
VG2800,
console
VJ9000, and Memory Game were, in practice, Atari 2600s with different casings.
That you guys
and
had all
since there was
this.
reverse engineering, there was no crime being committed here, in quotes, right? During this same period, Pollux began to officially represent Atari in Brazil and tried to legally block...
It's so bizarre that that was the loophole to kind of get around it. Like, it wasn't really a loophole. They just sort of went, reverse engineered it, released the same thing, somehow got around. Anyway, sorry, I've got to...
competitors for improper use of technologies.
This is great, Adele. Great doco.
But it was too late. The clones had already become popular, and Pollux began to promote it.
Wait. Sorry, hang on. We know that we've all got to put up with when I feel like I've got a little promo image idea. Okay, so hang on. This. So put. Okay. Hang on. Put logo bottom right corner and on the left side. If you don't mind saying this with me all at the same time, just in your own in cursive. Right. This. Double dragon on this. Yeah. Okay, I had an Atari from Gradient, one of the brands that cloned it. Man.
Itself by saying that only its product was the original.
Certain games look
the
like they could have been
official
fun,
Atari
but
product.
not Double Dragon.
Atari video game, the enemy everyone wants to have, the Atari of Atari. But there's a problem. The Atari was already a console from 1977, and by the end of the 80s, the Nintendo Entertainment System, the famous NES, was shining in the world. Gradiente, which distributed Atari via Pollux, tried to negotiate with Nintendo.
There you go, Gradiente. That's what you were saying, Adele.
Same...
Fuck, man, this is so interesting. All right, fun fact. Gradiente. Brazil. Gradiente trademarked the word iPhone in 2000, and its legal dispute with Apple is still going. Wow. Well, if they had trademarked it, they should have obviously just won. How is there any debate? They trademarked it before Apple. Hello? Sorry, Apple, I'm no lawyer, but if I was in Brazil, that's hand over fist win, Brazil. Yeah, but it's big money versus small money. Well, fuck. Okay. But they, on paper, they lost. I don't think it can be big money versus small money. If we just go, let's debate facts, Apple, you're fucked. End of story. I have an iPhone, like the next man, right? Now, that being said, also, this makes a really good image. Again, I think I've mentioned it only once, maybe yesterday or a couple of times. You guys should have this as your background image, though, right? Because then you can always give Pam a prayer during the day. You know, it's mine background, and I think everybody should have it as their background. I'm just saying. Feel free to make a post on the Facebook wall or whatever that you've done it too. We can all have fun with it, right? We can all have fun with it.
Strategy as its competitors. It bought the NES, reverse engineered it, and launched the iconic Phantom system, an extremely curious clone because it had the casing of an Atari
the controller looks kind of cool.
in controllers.
But the controller is better in terms of comfort design because fuck Nintendo, where they made that square ass bullshit where it would really dig into your hand after a while.
Inspired by the Mega Drive, a true Frankenstein, it was so successful that it opened the doors for a second wave of clones in Brazil. Even before the PolyStation.
Control. I agree. Yes.
We had the Top Game, Turbo Game, Division 2 and 3.
Yeah. I'm going to assume that everybody that's in here does know, between, God, I miss the whole Sega versus Nintendo thing, man. Well, that's probably still going in Brazil. Sega, Sega Control versus Nintendo Control, right? So, the control. I had the Dynavision. Oh, dude. Okay, well, I have to look that up. Hang on. So, this is like your see? Okay. That's your Sega. Like Genesis, I think, and it came out before, I think, Super Nintendo. So, they were a bit ahead, all right? Sega Genesis. This is, sorry, I know you're not used to seeing this, Adele, but this is the actual official stuff. Right? Do you see what we're seeing here? Yeah, it was called Mega Drive. That's right. It was called Mega Drive where we were. This is Genesis is in the US. It was called Mega Drive where we are because you and I are the same. We're in PAL. Well, see? Mega Drive. Mega Drive's fucking cool too. I think it's better than Genesis. Mega Drive. But that's the controls in comparison anyway. Sega versus Nintendo. Super Nintendo was by far, I think, the most comfortable. We're pals, pal. That's right. We're pals. Look at the graphic power that Pam was playing with, huh? Wow. It's got too much. Pam's system has too much power.
Bit system, and many others here. All this was the result of a combination of market reserve and Nintendo's own refusal to operate officially in the country. But on the other hand, there was Sega, which took a completely different path. It legally entered Brazil in partnership with Tectoy. The Master System and Mega Drive arrived officially with strong local support, but even that wasn't enough to prevent that Brazilian touch. Official adaptations emerged, such as Monica in the Dragon's Castle,
That's supposed to be Alex Kidd, I think,
Monica's
right?
Gang, The Rescue, and even the classic Monica in the Land of Monsters,
Monica in the Land of Monsters instead of Alex, I think Alex the Kid. Is
which were
what we're
modified
seeing
versions of other Japanese games that simply changed the skins, making them more culturally appealing to us here in Brazil. Besides that, we also had Chapelin, Castelo Rá-Tim-Bum, Sapo Chule, and many other games designed for the Brazilian audience. ATY went even further,
What's that?
localizing several games like the RPG Phantasy Star and even making an exclusive Brazilian version of the legendary Street Fighter II for the Master System, officially licensed by Capcom.
Yeah, right. The Master System. Amazing that they got that to work on there.
Meanwhile, the clones of Ader and NES also made their adaptations, renaming games to avoid copyright accusations. And that's how gems like Comicum, which is Pac-Man, and the best of them, Super Brothers, which you can guess
Super
is Super
Hermanos.
Mario Brothers, emerged.
What?
All this created a scenario where,
that?
most of the time, Sega Mario Brothers
Oh, that Mario doesn't look exactly. Is it supposed to be? Oh boy, look at the nose. I know someone's going to have a time with this. Yes, your Brazilian Mario is very unfit. Not that Mario's a fit, but this one is a little bit creepy looking, maybe. Maybe. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Double dragon on this thing. Lol. Okay, we've got to save this one. Hang on. We've got to save this one. Double dragon Pamley. Right. And then we've got to go. So we're building. That's Mario Brazilian cousin. Okay. So just my logo, bottom right corner. And if you don't mind, remember you got to say it with me. On the left hand side in cursive. Type Brazil. Mario's cousin nose like slam. Here we go. Okay, we're just going to let that do its thing. Right, let's go back to this. Sorry. When I've got content that I've got to create for things, it's important that we all do it together.
All this created a scenario where, most of the time, Sega consoles were more expensive than the Famiclones. Ultimately, at Tectoy everything was regulated, so they had to pay taxes, royalties, etc. However, manufacturers of clone consoles didn't have to royalty.
Look at this! Is that the thing that goes on the internet over there? My God, look at that thing. That's chunky as shit.
Etc.
Chunky
However,
as shit!
Manufacturers of clone consoles didn't have to deal with copyrights or anything like that, which left their products in a gray area since they were abusing Nintendo's copyrights. In theory, it wasn't illegal, because the products fell within Brazilian law and Nintendo couldn't do anything because it didn't have a...
Dude, it's so good. Like, that... Considering that Nintendo is the sue company of the century. Sue litigator masters, Nintendo. Litigate Central. And they could not sue Brazil. Like...
official representation in Brazil.
I still don't
But
get
would it let
how
this whole
it's a
free-for-all
loophole.
go unpunished? After the impact caused by the Phantom system and the numerous NES clones, Nintendo realized that Brazil was a great potential country for the world of games. That's when they called Gradiente to negotiate, and the result was a partnership between
Oh, what a fucking win for Brazil, right? Like they had to call the clone company to get in on the monies and make a deal. Wow.
Gradiente and Estrella, forming Playtronic in 1993, responsible for Nintendo's
Unbelievable.
official representation in Brazil. According to the agreement, Gradiente should have ceased production of the Phantom system, something that didn't entirely happen, okay? But it paved the way for the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy, and even the NES itself to be manufactured in the Manaus Free Trade.
PAL is still better. PAL is still better. Oh, yeah. VHS look. Deliberate, by the way, and I guess you guys know all that lore probably. I'm going to guess that you're all gamers. Grew up with Nintendo. They deliberately did it like a VCR so it would be appealing to the family console area at the time. This is a shitter version of the most supreme system of all time. This one. And we all know that, and we all think that way.
Zone. And here's an
Only
interesting
Pam
fact.
likes it better.
Brazil became the
Brazil was too much for Nintendo's lawyers. Amazing, dude. That Brazil was too much. So much so that they probably tried to sue and then they came crawling back to Brazil and then just fucking had to make a deal.
only country outside of Japan
Guys,
to
can we make a
officially
deal?
produce these consoles. This was all because Piracy created a market that didn't exist here, and Nintendo was
And there's
forced
the
to
benefit.
start paying attention to us. Now, with Nintendo finally operating officially, Brazil became another battleground for 90s consoles, alongside Sega, which also had a strong presence thanks to Tectoy.
Meganet.
And to make up for the delay caused by decades of clones, Nintendo officially launched the NES here in 1993 along with the Super Nintendo. But the
Nice. Okay, good that you got those two kind of, like, because the Super Nintendo came out a couple of years before that. We got it back in 1991. Oh my god, dude. What a time to be alive. That's the best age when you are, 991 I was, 8? 7, right? 7? Yeah, 7. And opening that console at Christmas, and seeing that that's what I got. Oh my god, dude.
reception was lukewarm. First, because clones
Mind
already dominated
blown.
the market, and nobody was going to trade a Division or a Phantom for an NES, which was much more expensive. Second, because in 1993 the NES was already seen as outdated. After all, the
Yeah.
Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive were already competing for players' attention. Even so, piracy didn't
So
disappear.
you're saying, and he said that Brazil was the only country to be permitted by Nintendo to produce. Oh, really? Oh, shit. Sorry, I did miss that part. Outside of Japan. Yeah, right. Okay, how interesting. So, what about in the Okay, so not even the US at that time? Were permitted? Was all of the developed consoles done over
in
in
the
Japan?
16-bit era,
How
hacks
interesting.
emerged that are still part of Brazilian folklore today, such as the legendary Sonic 4, which was a modification of the Speedy Gonzales game, and also Ronaldinho Soccer 97.
I bet this was
Soccer
popular. I bet this was popular. No, it was either Japan or in Brazil. How interesting, dude. Manufacturing, there you go. Manufacturing of the consoles could only be done legally in Japan and Brazil. Fuck, that's interesting. All right.
7. Which for those who played back then, none of that mattered much. Clones, hacks, or official consoles. It was
I
all
thought so. This was ADEL just goes, this was the game. What a surprise. Brazil is right. Brazil.
Soccer 97. Which for those who played back then, none of that mattered much. Clones, hacks, or official consoles. It was all simply video games.
FIFA 97
For many,
was good on the SNES.
Super Nintendo was their first real contact with Nintendo, without realizing
Or
that
FIFA
before it,
96 as well,
practically
sorry.
everything that existed here was a fam clone. But in 1992,
Batman
the
Returns is
market
fucking
reserve
excellent.
finally fell
Lot
and
of fun.
Brazil opened its doors to import.
Wild gun.
And at the same
something,
time, a new
gun
generation
something,
of
West gun
consoles was
something.
arriving, but a new challenge also arose.
Course Killer Instinct.
Would
I think I
piracy
can
be
name
able to
most of the things that
continue
come up.
existing in the face of more complex devices and a media completely different from cartridges?
I wish Pam could. I mean, again, he didn't have a SNES though, so let's not give him a hard time about it. You know, let's not. Don't. You know. That's all he had, you know. That's all. But Pam just had that, so it's
Few
sad.
people know, but the first PlayStation was never officially released in Brazil. By 1995, Latin America, and especially Brazil, was already known as a piracy paradise. This made Sony hesitate to officially bring the console here, but Paraguay was right next door, you know, and you can imagine what happened. The PlayStation started appearing in street vendor stalls and markets all over the country, but this time the
Piracy
PlayStation hardware
Kings!
was too complex to be copied and reverse engineered, like
Ah.
what happened with the FAM clones. But it had a weakness. A small modification to the device was enough
Yeah.
to bypass the media verification.
Everybody, even over here, did this. I did this. Most people, when they found they could get a mod, it was like you would go to a guy at his apartment. It was usually an Asian guy who would let you in, and then he'd go into a different room. You'd have to sit on like his couch when the apartment had not been fucking cleaned. It was all like this was the culture. It felt like book your nearest kind of best reviewed or word of mouth reviewed Asian man who is doing the modded chip console, could barely speak English. Come in, give him $50 to $100, chips the console, and then you can buy a whole bunch of games that he's already burnt. And it was in like an apartment, a dirty apartment. And he'd go off into one room, have like a fucking, like a curtain that he just pull, and then go and do his little magic inside the console. Beep, bop, boop, 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 bop, bop, pam, 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 finished, pam.
See if it was original or not.
Okay, hang on. Man finding an unlocked PS1 in Brazil was like finding a 4-leaf clover. It was insanely
The
rare.
games were on CDs,
Well,
which were much cheaper and easier to copy.
PlayStation's chipped.
Piracy
Sorry, we don't want to miss too much here. PlayStation's chipped over here were like a dime a fucking dozen, man. Like everybody, just as soon as it was done, and then people could just buy like 100. Like it was like something silly. It was like 100 games for like $100 or something dumb. Everybody just wanted it.
Loaded.
Everybody had
In
it.
a short time, the PlayStation took over the informal market. You bought the console, this time an official console, and at the stall next door you could get it unlocked and buy several pirated games for ridiculously low prices. Even though it cost around $600, at a time when the minimum wage was around $140 to $150, many people bought the console in installments without thinking twice because the games were ridiculously affordable, $10 on average. And this created an absurd contrast. If we had depended on Sony, perhaps we would never have played PlayStation. At most, we would have seen it in magazines. But all of that would still be
Sorry, don't understand the high care or interest in Spyro.
little compared to the
Never really could. Wasn't a good running. The game never ran that well. Wasn't that much fun.
impact that happened with the PlayStation 2. Released in 2000, the PlayStation 2 also didn't officially arrive in Brazil.
Surprisingly, I never got this one. Like I love the PlayStation, but I never got this one. Slam is bad at Spyro. Well, maybe it sounds like Adele has a soft spot for fucking the purple dragon who sucks dick. It's a purple dragon.
At least not initially, but as
Sucks
expected,
dick's overrated.
it quickly invaded the informal market. Soon hackers also found a loophole in the system and the first mod chip appeared, which later evolved into the famous Matrix chip, where you could now unlock it, play pirated games bought from street vendors, and even watch movies, because it was a DVD player. And this was a party for Brazil.
If you guys ignore this image. It's how it worked out. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. It's how it worked out. I didn't tell it to do certain things. I'm getting spanked, whatever. If there's things you want me to react to that you think would be entertaining for the stream, please send it through to slamisbad@games@gmail.com, and then we can go from there. Things that you think that would be entertaining like we've got here, or things that you find super interesting, whatever it might be. Please send it through.
Honestly,
thank you again.
Tell me, have you ever
Adele.
met anyone who had a jailbroken PlayStation 2 and only used original games? The PlayStation 2 became the most popular console in the country
Who
precisely
the fuck?
because
Who would do that? Who would jailbreak their fucking thing and be like, "Well, sorry, morally, I'm only going to play officially bought games." Oh no, I know I went and paid to have it jailbroken. Oh no, I know I did that. But I'm not going to use it. I just wanted the availability of if I maybe wanted to use it, but I'm never going to use it because I'm going to always buy my game. Who in their right mind would do that? Pan might. Sorry. I know I'm interrupting the flow,
pirated
Barry. I know I'm
games
interrupting the
continued
flow.
to cost around $10, and there
I have
were even
things to
those who
say.
sold the famous 3 for $10 deal. This way, you had access to a huge library as a DVD player. And this was a party for Brazil. Honestly, tell me, have you ever met anyone who had a jailbroken PlayStation 2 and only used original games? The PlayStation 2 became the most popular console in the country precisely because its pirated games continued to cost around $10, and there were even those who sold the famous 3 for $10 deal. This way, you had access to a huge library of games. You could try them out without breaking the bank. So we bought many games just for the cover. If it was pretty, attractive or not, we took it home, played it, and if we didn't like it, the next week we'd go and buy another one.
Dude, that's so cool that you guys had, like, that's like, okay, when he's saying dollar, it's actually in our currency. Okay, right. With what you're saying here, right? So when we, let me show you when we get our burnt games from the Asian guy living in the one-bedroom apartment on the top floor with no aircon that's never been cleaned, right? When we go to his apartment to pick up our 100 burnt games on CD, a batch. Let's see if we can just... Yeah, this was what we had over here. You guys have fucking that, man. Look at this.
Out without break.
Look how good that is. We had not an event like this at all. Asian guy, top floor apartment, no air conditioning. It wasn't even, this is even too nice. This is too nice. Some of them, they were just blank CDs. Dude, they did not even have labels on them. We had to go write them ourselves. You would get a whole bunch of discs, and then you had to put them in, and then you would have to, couldn't even be fucked writing what it was. You just get a disc, and then you would write your own shit on it. This is nice. This is nice for us. Nothing compared to... The difference between yours and ours is literally... Okay. Sorry, Barry. I'm sorry.
Breaking the bank. So we bought many games just for the cover. If it was pretty, attractive or not, we took it home, played it, and if we didn't like it, the next week we'd go and buy another one. And the logic was simple. You'd pay for the console in installments and then build your gigantic library without spending almost anything, right? And that wasn't all. Around that time, game modifications started to boom. First on PC, but soon they arrived on PlayStation 2 as well. That's when those gems like GTA Rio, Sao Paulo, GTA Dubop, GTA Dragon Ball, and the Eternal Bomba Pet came out. There were even versions of Guitar Hero with Brazilian or anime songs, which were really cool. This only showed that Brazilians were very creative and marked the beginning of the careers of many people who would later go into game development, programming, or even content production. Nowadays, it's very common to download games from Steam, paying a very reasonable price, right? The best place to find cheap games. But in the 90s and 2000s...
I should have asked. Yeah, the Bomber patch is a patch for Pro Evolution Soccer. Yeah. And so mind you, it's that, so you were saying, sorry, like that, it's like that in big, so where they've got the things in the creative, nicely printed off sleeves that's where you get those, the big, like, even though there were these little expos, dude, where you get the Asian guys, they're coming with a whole bunch of their batches of burnt CDs, they would just still have it pretty much unlabeled in little sleeves that you could just like buy in about. You guys had it so much nicer than us. That exists to this very day. The Bomber patch for Pro Evolution Soccer. I actually don't know what... Hang on. So, I've got to keep all this up. Bomber patch. I just need to understand what that is. Wait, Bomber. It's going to show straight away, I reckon. Fuck. Hang on. Bomber patch. Pro Evolution. $2026? What? Wow, dude. That's still going? We're not going to go through this whole thing. I'm just going to... So this is a PS2 game being played now. Oh my god. What, this is still going? Oh my god, really, dude? Fucking, why is this haunting me? Why? What did I do? I just wanted to check a little fact. That's all I wanted to do. I had enough of this.
Thousands, the reality was different. PC games came on floppy disks, CDs,
Yes,
and
Doom
DVDs.
Man.
And just like with consoles, the first forms of piracy soon
Like, it's
emerged,
for everything.
which were
Okay, so
cracks
like
that altered
with current players, current players in the teams of today updated. It's
game files
amazing
to
that they still
bypass verification.
Fucking thank God for mods, dude. Like modders are just awesome. Like they really are. They're the ones that put the effort to go through. Like when we're playing Resident Evil Code Veronica right now, it's got HD. I don't care that if AI's done majority of the work. Who cares? Someone has fed it or wanted to put it through and make the graphics nicer, or they've gone and changed every background. Love modders. Love them. PlayStation should utilize them on their network, for God's sake.
With the internet becoming more
Dude, this is a great game. Oh, dude, what a great game. Diablo. Or Diablo, some people might call it, but it's Diablo. Diablo. One of these games, I love this game on PC. I'm playing it, I bought it, didn't know a thing about it. Got it in like 1995 when it came out because I love the artwork of at the time, the PC. Hang on, everyone. Diablo PC, physical. Let me just show you guys what the one that I had. It's up the top, maybe. Yeah, but that looks cooler than the one. This is Diablo 3. I want to have there it is. Diablo 1. That was it. That was it. It was a box like that. Diablo. That was the box that I had. Fucking awesome, man. Such a fun game. And Pam had this. Good on Pam, right? Yeah, at least we had this.
popular, many people resorted to Merc to find download links. And with the arrival of broadband, torrents accelerated this process even further. Emulators also exploded during this time, allowing anyone to play titles from various old consoles without ever having touched the original console. For many Brazilians, this is how entire great franchises were discovered. Many people became fans of Pokemon by playing on PC, and years later, when they had a job, they could invest in the original game, buying the 3DS cartridge or the Nintendo Switch version now. But the 2000s also marked the era of internet cafes, which became a meeting point for playing Counter-Strike, the famous CS 1.6, one of the craziest games of the period. It was very common to search for CS 1.6 on Steam. I myself had no idea what the Steam version was, but I knew that was the version I had to download. Later I found out why the original version was on Steam, then everything made sense, and the effort it took to find a version with working bots was intense. And around the same time we had the famous CS Rio, a scenario inspired by the favelas of Rio de Janeiro, which was even banned in Brazil. That's crazy, but it became a craze. There was no way around it. Another success during this period was World of Warcraft, which you surely tried to install at home using those somewhat suspicious tutorials on the internet, searching for alternative private servers so you could have fun without paying a monthly fee. This combination of internet cafes and the internet created its own ecosystem. Forums, groups, friendships, game sharing, and a wealth of knowledge. It ended up forming an entire generation that later entered the fields of IT, programming, and
God, like, internet cafes were fun to kind of go to, but they were and they still are such dirty, kind of sweat-festy, slimy places to go. Whenever you, I remember you just have to accept when you load up and you sit down, you've got the keyboard and the mouse, you can just feel this shiny sort of sliminess of other people's other slime stuff. Oh. But then you just accept it. You just go, I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. Yeah, and there's no. And why Do every one of those fucking buildings have no ventilation, man? Really? It's a bunch of guys. A bunch of teen boys in a room with poor ventilation. Why? What? And every one of them had poor ventilation. That's such a terrible combination.
Once again, game development. Meanwhile, the PlayStation 2 finally arrived officially in Brazil in mid-2009, while the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 already dominated the 7th generation. The PS2, however, was already completely entrenched in Brazil thanks to Piracy, which made it the most popular console in the country and created a gigantic fan base. Some even say that Sony turned a blind eye to Piracy, since PS2 and buying games on Camelot became synonymous with video games here. But with the new generation arriving, the PlayStation 3 wouldn't be the protagonist of piracy in this phase. So, who was going to take on this role here? Before Sony finally officially launched the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 in Brazil, another company recognized the potential of our market, Microsoft. In 2005, they brought the Xbox 360, which was already successful abroad, but arrived here with a different strategy. Microsoft understood Brazilians' relationship with piracy and believed that offering more affordable prices could reduce.
You think you saw a girl in one of these?
The informal market.
Yeah,
and in a way,
I do. Oh my god, dude! If you ever saw, if I ever saw a girl that had been dragged there, oh shit, she wasn't having fun. Having to smell all the sweat juices of all the teen guys with no ventilation. Yummy. Room full of nerds. Yeah, yum. Yep, yum. Not having a good time.
It worked.
Too bad. Too bad. You're here with a guy who's playing games because he's a legend. Gotta put up with him.
The console arrived costing around $3,000 in games between $99 and $9, prices that were localized for the Brazilian public. Furthermore, online features and constant updates helped discourage console modification, but this only worked partially. The Xbox 360 still used DVDs, a familiar medium for pirates since the PlayStation 2 era. And it didn't take long for unlocks to appear, and the scenario repeated itself, stalls offering modifications and copy discs to anyone who wanted them.
Still haven't played Bully. I've heard how good it is, and I should check out like a modded version so it runs nice and smooth, because the PS2 one looks a little choppy or whatever it was on. I think it's on maybe PC. Pamela says it's a good game, and but I've never played it. I wonder if you guys played Bully at all, and do you rate it? It looks like it'd be an interesting idea. Yeah.
Piracy didn't reach the same levels as during the PlayStation 2 era, but it still existed because many people now had good internet at home and wanted to enjoy online features, especially playing games with friends from anywhere in Brazil. If you had a jailbroken console and tried to play online, your console could be banned, leaving you with no way to officially play Xbox 360 games online. You lost many features, it wasn't worth it. But now, if you didn't want to play online, you could just jailbreak it and be successful. On the other hand, the PlayStation 3 now used Blu-ray, which was a much more complicated and expensive medium to copy. However, the console wasn't immune. Hackers managed to develop jailbreaking methods that allowed games to be installed directly on the internal hard drive, without the need for a disc, something very similar to what happened with the PSP. But this took a long time to happen. It wasn't in the first years of the PlayStation 3, but with the PlayStation 3, it became very common for people to invest more in original games. They were more expensive, but the price was very similar to the Xbox 360. Localized pricing also started here, and support was provided. Games began to receive subtitles and dubbing in Portuguese. And this online gaming ecosystem began to significantly reduce
I'm so sick of seeing Last of Us. Sorry.
Piracy here. However, it still exists, but not in the same way as 20 or 30 years ago. So the question remains, what changed in the minds of gamers that completely transformed our relationship with it? Unlike Brazil and other developing countries, piracy never occupied so much space in the major first world markets. In the United States, Japan, Europe, or South Korea, video games have always been more accessible. Therefore, piracy was never essential for playing there. In places like Brazil, Latin America in general, India, China, and many African countries, it ended up being for a long time the only real way to access.
Wait, we have a dubbed game? Wow, so it's a rare thing I mean, I'm glad that at least the flagship game that has been promoted endlessly from fucking Naughty Dog, loved them both. Yes, enjoyed them both. There's so much about them every year. There's something. Oh, look, we've got a slightly new texture pack added in, and now there's this one that comes with it, and another little tiny bit of DLC. Shut up. Shut up. We're done with Last of Us. Had enough.
But this has started to change, at least here. Several factors have transformed the behavior of
now
the Brazilian gamer.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm glad though that you getting a dubbed version of a game is now a common thing. I mean, it should have been. Anyway.
First is purchasing power. Many people who grew up playing Phantom System or locked PlayStations are now adults who work and can afford to buy their own games. And I believe that if everything were more accessible here, with lower taxes, most people would prefer to buy the original product,
sure,
which is of higher quality, lasts longer.
To be fair, I would do the exact same thing here. I would be getting the clone ones for sure. If it was just too much versus my wage, like, of course, if that's available and you want to be plugged into playing games, I will take the Temu SNES Slim Pamley product. I will take all the live long day playing. On a PAM setup. This is what we call a Pamley setup. Hang on. That's a good one. Go back here. We're going to go back to it. I'm sorry, we are. We're going to go back to it. Oh. Okay. Well, that's annoying. Okay, we'll have to figure it out. Put my logo, bottom right. And again, you can say it all with me if you like. In cursive, put on the left-hand side. This is a Pamley product. There we go. Hopefully that'll be fine. SNES Slim. Okay.
Longer, and offers a guarantee, rather than buying pirated games. Another point is that the way we consume games has also completely changed. It may not seem like it, and it's still expensive, but video games are much more accessible today than before, okay? Thanks also to digital stores, like Steam.
Great game, by the way. Holy shit. If you guys have a PS5, if you like just good games, good-ass, well-designed, excellent level design games, Astrobot, the full game that they've done, fucking yeah, man. It's great. Great game.
And the console stores themselves.
Nearly 100%ed it.
If you only
haven't
have
because
the
I've been
digital
lazy.
version of
Nearly
the
100%ed
console,
it.
you can't unlock it.
Fuck that game. Fuck this game. Oh my god. Black Myth Wukong can't move the difficulty parameters at all. It's just on super hard and you die constantly. And I die a lot as it is. Fuck, I took it. I had this for one day. We got it for one day, played it for one night, and we took it back the next day. Return it. Fuck it. No.
And there have also been many promotions and discount coupons
Finish this game.
here, which helps increase competition when you go to buy your game.
Oh, and they're playing all the ones that fucking Slam has got. That was Silent Hill F. We finished that, and then this is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Excellent game. Play Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
On
Pop.
physical media.
Prince of Pamley.
Besides, there are services
Prayer
like
of
Game Pass,
Pamley.
which, even with price adjustments, also help many people have a huge library of games to play. Today, the average gamer understands that it's worth paying for an original game for the convenience, security, and practicality, instead of resorting to piracy and risking viruses, account bans, or suspicious files. And although video games remain expensive, we've never had so many accessible and even free options. The current situation is infinitely better than what your parents, siblings, and cousins faced a few years ago. But before anything else, it's important to emphasize that this video is not a defense of piracy, okay? Piracy is a crime. It involves real risks and consequences.
Yes. Well, he has to say this.
But the purpose here is different. To show how piracy was part of the history of video games in Brazil and how it helped shape the Brazilian gamer. Think
Weird forehead. Weird forehead created by VHS. Weird forehead.
Of any major franchise: Mario, Zelda, Metal Gear, Castlevania, Final Fantasy, CS, Pokemon, GTA. For many people, their first contact with these universes was through a PC emulator cartridge or a dubious disc bought at a fair in Camelot.
So much nicer.
The big companies know this. The Brazilian audience only became so large and loyal because, back then, access was solely thanks to piracy. Today, that same guy who bought pirated God of War with modified Portuguese subtitles at the street market now spends his hard-earned money buying a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 and investing in the game at launch, pre-ordering, because in his childhood he created memories of a market that only existed in a gray area here in Brazil, but which forged many ties with various franchises and that today he wants to consume in some way, whether through the video game or by buying an official t-shirt from a market that only existed through unofficial means here.
I got a shirt.
This is because we were ignored for a long time, and it wasn't just about getting games for free. Piracy also preserved abandoned works, games from companies that went bankrupt, licensed titles that can never be re-released, or games stuck on old systems. In these
Thank
cases,
you very much.
it's the mod and hack community that keeps the memory.
I was waiting for your praise. The only praise that matters here is the person that's from Brazil. I need to get the appropriate plays, or as we say, a bella camiseta. Hey, a bella camiseta. Ah, I said it wrong, didn't I?
Alive. Furthermore, it was in the informal market
Ciao,
that
Bella.
many people learned programming, translation, design, and editing, skills that shape developers, artists, pro players, and content creators. Today, this relationship has evolved, creating a culture and
Well, I mean, look, I have to do this one, I think, right? We need to make sure. Hang on. Let's make sure that we have a look here. This is a family. Yeah, awesome. Right, so I'm gonna do this one. Bear with me. Yeah, exactly. So, wait, put logo. Bottom right corner. And on the left-hand side in, all say it together if you like, cursing. Say, Bella camisetas. Brazil. No, it's too late. Not wait. Well, now it's that. Now it's that. Well, that's the listen. We can't take it back now. Now it's just. You know what, dude? You know, fucking look. You chose this. You chose this. Mod it. Done. That's what you get.
identity, and this often manifests in collecting.
For God's sake.
Those who played pirated games in their childhood now seek consoles, cartridges, original media, or even Famiclones to relive that era. And this fuels an entire
Mod
ecosystem,
something blurred
like
there is
RetroCon,
on.
which has been growing more and more every year, bringing in international figures like Barry Lit, who composed the music for Top Gear, which many in Brazil only had access to thanks to that pirated Super Nintendo cartridge. But because of this whole cycle, we have official access to the composer. People go to the event, spend money, and keep it all alive. Not to mention that we have magazines like Warp Zone and Old Gamer, entirely focused on the retro universe here. And remember the timeline at the beginning of the video? In a Brazil without pirated games, perhaps our market simply wouldn't exist. Today we have not only a huge audience, but a more mature audience, capable of understanding the value of their own money and supporting independent developers and the national industry as well, which grows more each year. And like it or not, none of this would be possible without the winding and creative path that Brazilians took to be able to play video games. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I'm Fiaspo, and leave a comment.
Excellent fucking video, man. Well done. I think we can all say that we enjoyed this a lot. Great stuff. Give this guy a like. And then you can follow him at Fiaspo. You know, if you want to, feel free to. This guy is this was a really informative, great documentary. And So now we know more about the piracy. We know more about something Station, I think you're saying. And we also know that Pam never had a SNES. So, that's the things that we all learned today. Rotation! Fuck's sake, man. But that was a great one.